It is 1:30, and I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the meeting of the March 9th, 2021 Laughlin Town Advisory Board. There's some notices that I need to give, and that is, number one, that our social distancing will be practiced during this meeting, and you'll be asked to keep approximately six feet away from other meeting attendees. Items on the agenda may be taken out of order, and the board may combine two or more agenda items for consideration. The board may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to any item at any time. No action may be taken on any matter that is not posted on today's agenda. All planning and zoning matters heard at this meeting are forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners, Zoning Commission, BCC, or the Clark County Planning Commission, PC, for final action. Turn off or mute all cell phones and other electronic devices that you have, if you'll take a minute to do that. I know, check mine as we speak. Okay. And any private conversations that you need to have, please take that outside of the room here. With 48-hour advance request, a sign language interpreter or other reasonable efforts to assist and accommodate persons with physical disabilities may be made available by calling 702-455-3530 or TDD at 702-385-7486 or Relay Nevada toll-free, which is 800-326-6868. Supporting material provided to the board members for this meeting may be requested from Tammy Harris, our Town Advisory Board Secretary, at area code 702-298-0828, and this information will be available on Clark County's website at www.clarkcountynv.gov. Also, in the back of the room, oftentimes is paperwork that has been presented to this board since the posting of the agenda as well. If you do not wish to attend this meeting in person, but would like to comment on an item appearing on this agenda or provide general public comment, please submit your comments to tammy.harris@clarkcountynv.gov before 10:30 a.m. March 9th, 2021. Please include your name, address, and identify which agenda item you are commenting on and your comment, period. Comments will be read into the record, and no comments over 3 minutes in length will be read. All comments received will be compiled into a document and shared as part of the meeting's minutes. Okay. So your board today consists of Kathy Oakes. We have Kathleen Haas, Fred Doughton, Herm Walker, and Pam Walker. Everyone is present, so we do have a quorum. And our secretary is Tammy Harris, who is here. And she can be contacted at 702-298-0828 or at tammy.harris@clarkcountynv.gov. So now that we've called this meeting to order, I'd like to ask everyone to please stand for the invocation as given by Pastor Doug Wesley and our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Kathleen Haas.
Father, we know the most important thing in the world is to know you, and so my first prayer is that everybody in Laughlin does come to know you, does enjoy you, because 100 years from now, we're going to be with you, enjoying heaven, enjoying with joy and gladness, and that's the most important thing. As to the issues today, we pray for things to be done that are right and just, and things that are for everybody, that decisions are made that are the betterment of everybody and not the few, for all of Laughlin. Because all of Laughlin's important to you, it's important to the board, it's important to all of us. We're a small town here, and we all really care for each other. So we bless you, and we thank you, and ask you to bless this meeting. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
Please salute our flag and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. And then we shall be moving forward to item 2, which is the public comment. And this is a period devoted to comments by the general public about items that appear on today's agenda. No discussion, action, or vote may be taken on this agenda item. You will be afforded the opportunity to speak on individual public hearing items at the time they are presented. If you wish to speak to the board council about items within its jurisdiction but not appearing on this agenda, you must wait until the comments by the general public period listed at the end of today's agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and if you have a statement to make, we ask that you please step up to our speaker's podium, state your name and address, and please spell your name for the record. It's recorded, and sometimes if you say the name, we can't pick it up as well as if you spell it. In addition, any member of the board wishes to extend the length of presentation, this will be done by the chairperson or the board by majority vote. If you don't wish to attend this meeting in person but would like to comment on an item appearing on this agenda, please submit your comments to tammy.harris@clarkcountynv.gov before 10:30 a.m. on the day of the meeting, so today would be March 9th of 2021. Please include your name, address, and identify which agenda item you are commenting on and your comment. Comments will be read into the record. No comments over 3 minutes in length will be read. All comments received will be compiled into a document and shared as part of the meeting's minutes. So I will go ahead and open the public comment section of our meeting for items that appear on this agenda. If anyone would like to speak, and I also have some written statements that I'll read into the record, but we'll go ahead and take any public comment. If you please come up to the podium, state your name and address, spell your name for the record. We'd love to hear from
you. Good afternoon. My name is Bruce Henry, Henry, and my address is 2004 Mesquite Lane, number 201 in Laughlin. And I was not planning on being here today, but the item I'd like to address is the item on the agenda, Senate Bill 79. I don't know if you are familiar with The Godfather Part 3, but one of the favorite lines in that movie for me was the fact that Al Pacino, he was trying to get out of the mafia, and the last thing that happened, he got pulled back in. And that's kind of where I feel on this agenda item. A couple of years ago, I came to this board and brought to the attention 2 items that were proposed, and I was a little upset, but I realized that I did not let the legislative process go forward. And unfortunately or fortunately, those items never got too far. And I found it very interesting that a month ago here that one of the board members got up and brought this item to the attention. And I found that kind of hypocritical because 2 years ago, we didn't hear anything from any of you 5 members in regards to this item. And I don't know what's changed. And, there's only one bill. It may go somewhere, it may not, it may be DOA, it may not. But what I was really distressed about was the tone and the accusations and character assassination that was thrown around here. That's not what I look for in leadership. I think if we have a problem with anybody in the community, we need to address that privately. And I've always tried to adhere to that. So I would just like today, if, when this item comes up and you guys discuss it, please make it in, don't get into so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. That just is not, at least the principles that I abide by. And so, you know, you guys are just an advisory board, nothing more, nothing less. And my vote, if this ever was to come to fruition, is just as important as any other member. So I just kind of would bring that to your attention, and I would hope that Senator Hardy would be able to chime in here. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I just want to thank you guys for letting me make a brief statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Is there anyone else in the audience today that would like to speak at the public section now on items that are appearing on this agenda today? Okay. If there's not anyone in the audience, I do want to take a moment and read. We have two comments that pertain also to SB 79, and I'll read those into the record. For the audience's information, our representative, Senator Hardy, is with us today on the teleconference phone. I wanted to read these. I could save these for the Senate bill section, but I did want to read these under public comment now, so he's aware that, you know, this will be something that he may want to touch upon for constituents that live in the Laughlin community. So the first one is from a Judith A. Chromick, C-H-R-O-M-I-K, resident address of 1928 Los Palmas Lane, Unit 226 in the town of Laughlin. And Judith writes, I'm unable to attend the LTAB meeting and would like my comments included in the proceedings and the minutes. I have questions regarding incorporation that I have never seen or heard or read being answered or addressed in any manner. If Laughlin incorporates, how many services that we currently receive from Las Vegas will now be ours to provide and pay for within the Laughlin community? It's my understanding that our police, fire, water treatment, and other community services that are currently provided to Laughlin by Las Vegas. If this is true, then I would wonder if we are going to lose the benefit of these services if we incorporate. If so, and I believe we would lose these services, where is the money coming from to pay for the police, fire, water treatment, etc.? And not only having to pay their salaries, but also their benefit packages, retirement, health insurance, uniform allowances, their vehicles, and the building they work out of, and overtime. The cost to replace what we will lose from Las Vegas is going to be huge. Has anyone done a study and calculated the cost, and how is it going to be paid for? Laughlin is a beautiful community and thus far affordable for a great many senior citizens. How are snowbirds with their many are snowbirds with their primary residence in other states. The population is small, the population of non-retired actively employed people even smaller. I just know there's going to be a tax issue here to pay for all these things. The working people are already behind the 8 ball. COVID has removed jobs, most are service-related jobs and don't pay all that well. The senior population don't get pay raises and their pension checks that don't amount to all that much. The community cannot afford incorporation. The full-time community is small, very small for what you want to undertake. Before we lose what we currently have in population, I think all the numbers should be worked up and provided to each person in the community, and a vote be taken at that point. Too many people do not realize what incorporation really means and what the cost really is going to be. I hate to see the town destroyed because the seniors and others would put their property up for sale and move out because it's no longer would it be affordable. So that was our comments from Judith Chromick. And I'll also be reading into the minutes. This is another letter submitted by Patricia, Mrs. Patricia S. Fisher, and it says, Madam Chair and members of the Laughlin Town Advisory Board, My name is Patricia S. Fisher, Fisher. I live at 3179 Quail Song Drive, and I'm commenting on item 7, number 1, which is SB 79. First, the Ltab should express its views on SB 79 despite the low probability that this outrageous bill will exit committee. An Ltab statement will prevent any possible confusion on the part of potential purchasers of Laughlin property or businesses who might conclude incorrectly that the existence of the bill means that incorporation and many changes in zoning, building codes, etc. will occur soon. Second, multiple votes over several years in which the majority of Laughlin voters voted against incorporation are being disregarded once again by those anonymously supporting these repeated attempts to incorporate Laughlin, otherwise known as the supporters. The supporters should pay to provide notices of SB 79 hearings to all residents. The location for public comments during any SB 79 public hearings should be in Laughlin, not in Las Vegas or Carson City. The Nevada Senate's attempt to involuntarily incorporate our town is abusive enough without forcing voters to travel across the state or even drive 3 hours round trip while they're reeling from the meeting and the challenges of the pandemic. SB 79 provides that if the incorporation vote required by the bill fails, expenses are to be borne by county taxpayers. This is totally unacceptable, as would any attempt to use outdated language to raid the Fort Mojave Development Fund to pay expenses. The supporters should be solely responsible for all expenses incurred, including expert financial feasibility studies, subject to reimbursement by the new city council in the unlikely event incorporation passes. Third, SB 79's confusing language appears to contain many disturbing features, a few of which I list below after an admittedly brief review. A, there is no requirement that a detailed financial feasibility study prepared by qualified independent experts be distributed to the voters before the incorporation vote. B, the boundaries of the proposed city are not clear. Also, the provisions for future annexations require only a majority vote of those affected, and a majority is not defined. Is it absolute number of landowners, parcel size, even if undeveloped, or assessed value? The powers given to the city manager under the charter contained in SB 79 are atypically broad. Instead of the usual employment contract, the city manager appears to be given lifetime tenure and can be removed only by a unanimous vote of all city council members. Section 13, page 35, appears to provide that Laughlin taxpayers will be paying city-assessed taxes and special district taxes, in addition to separate taxes to the county to repay indebtedness incurred prior to the incorporation. E, notably missing from the charter are the usual ethical safeguards requiring appraisals on purchases and sales of city property, establishing condemnation procedures requiring fair and open bidding on city contracts, etc. F, disturbing to those of us who rely on strong zoning, building, and safety codes, the charter would allow changes effective 1 week after being proposed in city building codes without requiring any advance notice to the residents and, in fact, not even requiring publication of the changes. Respectfully submitted, Ms. Patricia S. Fisher. So I've read those into the minutes, and if our senator has overheard that, it would be something for him to keep in mind as we move forward. So is there anyone else to speak at the public comment section on items that are on today's agenda? If not, I'll go ahead and close the public comment section. Move forward to item number 3 on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes for our last meeting, which was February 9th, 2021. And is there any discussion or any changes to those minutes that the board has seen?
Make a motion, so moved.
Okay, make a motion that we approve the minutes of February 9th. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second with Kathleen Haas. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5-0, motion carries. Moving to item number 4. This is approval of today, March 9th, 2021, and hold, combine, or delete any items. So the public is aware, our senator, Senator Joe Hardy, is on the phone with us today. And as far as our agenda to hold, combine, or delete any items, I would like to advance our first item of general business to the floor for discussion, and that is item number 1, discuss the proposed incorporation Senate Bill 79 and take any action deemed appropriate. It is for action. It is an action item for today, but to begin with, I'll open our, what is this called? Teleprompt or telephone call system so that the senator can indeed address this item to the public. I'll take him off. Senator Hardy, are you with us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am with you, and I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
If I may.
Please, go ahead. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I appreciate the comments that have already happened in public comment, and I think this is one of the reasons why we have this concept of representative forms of government, because good ideas come from people who are going to be subject to different rules and regulations. To wit, I was given the opportunity to have the hearing on SB 79 tomorrow. And I said that would not be a wise idea because we want people to have input and have their concerns heard, and particularly their ideas be able to be vetted. So I appreciated the questions that came up about the bill particularly and about the court incorporation. I obviously have a history of this concept dating back to 2009, and then we had an election that will be 10 years ago when we vote again next if this bill passes. And so in 2012, the electorate of Laughlin voted 56.89% to not incorporate it, and 43.11% to incorporate. 2015, the bill did not pass in the legislature, and that brings us to 2021 session, where the opportunity to be heard is being held. Now, I did hear peripherally that someone said, I think in public comment last town board meeting, that we didn't have a map. And so I hope that you have received a map, a potential map for what the place would be incorporated, and then how that would work. And I won't pretend to know all of the answers for the pros and cons, as much as this bill is a very simple, do you want to incorporate or not? If the citizens of Laughlin vote to not incorporate, then that is very simple in Section 4, and that is the end of the discussion. So all of the discussion about the city manager, the city council people, and all the other people become moot at that point. If this constituency of Laughlin votes to incorporate, then there is a framework, I'll call it, built in as to what to do and how to do it. And I think the questions that were brought up were spot on, and I appreciate them, because all of those kinds of questions have the next year and a half to be vetted with the community. And this is not me trying to impose my will. This is my bill to allow the citizens of Laughlin whether or not they want to incorporate. And obviously, if there are things that a particular person in Laughlin is interested in protecting or clarifying, the bills that we have in the legislature are amendable. And if you have a concern about a particular section, then those ideas would be very much appreciated. And I look forward to being able to resolve people's concerns. The ultimate concern, obviously, is can Laughlin afford to be incorporated? And when I look at the tax rolls of Laughlin, I find that unusually, I guess, the residential tax base is paying for more of the city than the commercial tax base, as you folks are very much aware that the commercial side of Laughlin is mostly, by and large, across the river. So those are my observations on the bill, being a simple do you want to or not, and if you want to, then we have things that we have to do in order to answer those concerns. It's been my impression with Laughlin compared to other cities that the way our public servants, fire and police, are funded, that the county has a long way to travel. And so we already have memorandums of understanding with our neighboring city across the river for fire protection. And so we know that Laughlin is not totally isolated, but is close to someone else and far away from the mothership, I'll call it, of Las Vegas and the hub of Clark County. I am a firm believer in government closer to the people is a better government, and people will be able to have access to their representatives easier. When I was on city council in Boulder City, it took me about 2 hours to buy milk at the grocery store because everybody had an opportunity to talk to the city councilman. And the more input we have from people, the better we are apt to make good laws, good rules, and have a relationship with elected officials that are closer to home. I think that in basically a year and a half, if the bill passes, you'll have a chance to allay some concerns and perhaps find others, and then go to the polls and be able to vote whether or not you want to incorporate. So this is one of those where it is, I'm allowing the opportunity through this bill to allow the people to vote. Now, this bill has to pass through the Senate, and it has to pass through the Assembly, and it has to be signed by the governor. And so there are multiple areas and opportunities to have input, pro or con, long before this bill is made into law. And I welcome the opportunities for people to do that. And that's why I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to know when it would be scheduled in the Government Affairs Committee in the State Senate. And should it pass the committee in the State Senate, then it goes to the floor of the Senate. And if it passes the floor of the Senate, then it goes to the Assembly, and it goes through the same process again. It has a committee hearing, which people have access to. It has the floor of the Assembly, which people have access to call their representatives and explain what their concerns are. And then it goes from the Assembly floor back to the Senate, who then sends it to the governor for final approval. So those are the steps this has to go through. And so this is not done in the dark. It's very open. It's as any other bill or proposed action that we take in the state legislature. So I welcome people, no matter how they think I'm against or for something, this is your community, and your community will vote how they want to vote only after it goes through the Senate, the Assembly, and the governor. And each one of those steps will be fully vetted, and that's my commitment to you. As far as calculating the costs, I used to sit on the Committee for Local Government Finance, for instance, and we heard these kinds of concerns. You know, what is the tax rate? What is the assessment rate? And so there are literal experts who are involved with this process, not to mention those specific in the county itself, because Clark County has input to those kinds of things through their elected representatives. And I will say, I tried to get a hold of Commissioner Naft a few times even today, and we played a little bit of phone tag, and I appreciate him reaching out to me, but obviously he's as busy as he can be, and hopefully he's going to be a voice for you and a person to listen to your concerns. And so we're appreciative of Clark County and their perspective of what Laughlin feels. So I welcome you to reach out to Commissioner Naft, to Assemblyman Glenn Levitt, to myself, but you're not limited to us. Anybody who's in the legislature, and particularly on the Senate Government Affairs Committee, that if you get on what they call Nellis, you electronically access the Nevada State Legislature. There will be a way that you can find this particular bill, but more importantly, there's a way where you can identify who's on the Senate Government Affairs, and you can communicate directly to the committee people individually, by email, by phone, so all of the messages that we can do electronically are available to you. The other good news is, instead of having to travel to Carson City, you can do that with accessing the Zoom committee hearings that we have. So there's not a limit of how many people can watch the committee hearing, nor is there a firm limit on how many people can express themselves in public comment. So there are ample opportunities. I wish that we could all be here face to face and we could do the things that we do, but unfortunately we have a virus that has precluded some of that. Most of us in the state legislature have been staff, and representatives have been immunized at this point. And so we look for the opportunity to, again, open the doors of the state legislature. And I don't want to take up more of your time, but I do want to invite everybody to have input to this process. Appreciate you, Madam Chair, giving me the time and indulging me as members of the Town Advisory Board for being able to do this. And hopefully, if you have specific concerns, don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Would you be available to answer some questions from the board and that the public addresses to the board today?
I am happy to listen and write down those questions and then do whatever research I need, but I won't pretend to know all the answers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. One thing that I do want to state to the public that's with us today, definitely, although at this point there has been no absolute figures produced for what is proposed, there definitely will have to be that. So I don't think, it's going to be voted upon without any type of input and without any feasibility study that's going to be completed. One of the things that I have with me today, I brought the last legislative session that we had on this from 2012. I have the report of the fiscal feasibility of the incorporation of Laughlin from 2012, and I have an oversight here as well. Some of the questions that were asked, Tammy, does that work right there if I were to put up something? Okay. So one of the things that I'm going to put up, Senator Hardy, can you see in this meeting or no? Can you see us?
I can see you.
Okay.
But you are in a different time zone than my talking on the phone.
Okay, but if I put up a chart, you'll be able to see, because this is just a pie chart, which I think is simple enough for anyone to follow. And this was the status quo of the feasibility study back in 2012, which showed where our money came from in Laughlin, which was, at that time, 57.3% came from consolidated tax, 10.4% came from licenses and permits, 2% other, and 32.1 in property tax. So what you've stated here today is that there has been a vast shift in that, but as defined, intergovernmental consolidated tax, what that consists of for our public is a mixture of tax revenues that come from state consolidated fund consisting of revenues generated by sales tax, cigarette tax, liquor taxes, real property transfer taxes, and government services like motor vehicle taxes. The State Department of Taxation allocates revenue based upon statewide distribution formula, and approximately 80% of all consolidated revenue is sales tax. And I'll put this chart up, and then in addition, right after I do that, I'll put up the proposed site for Senate Bill 79. And for the proposed, I guess that would be jurisdiction parameters, boundaries, as you might call it. One of the things that is not included is the hotel corridor, where I believe the majority of the consolidated tax and sales tax does come from for the Laughlin community. As you had said earlier, it would be from Bullhead City, but indeed our hotel corridor, which is not a part of today's SB 79 as defined at this point, would be excluded. So I'll go ahead and put those up so the public can see them. So if you look at what I put before you, and this is from the 2012 study, it had consolidated tax, which is, I'm going to assume, predominantly generated from the hotel corridor. However, it is also generated from retail sales, DMV, as I read the definition of consolidated tax. In 2012, that was 57.3%. License and permits were 10.4%. Other was 0.2%. I'm assuming that would be things like marriage licenses and stuff. Property tax was 32.1%. And since 2012, we have had some growth, and I'm assuming that the feasibility study that will be done for this SB 79 will be along the same parameters and will give us what those numbers indeed are. However, in 2012, it was a shortfall over $2 million for incorporation at that time. So the real numbers as they stand today, I am assuming will be undertaken. But one of my concerns, if you just put up the map of the hotel corridor, is the consolidated tax. Back then it was a shortfall. That consolidated tax of 50, see where you see the hotel corridor over by the water, that is going to be excluded. And it used to be 57%, which was close to $5.5 million of the budget, of the $8 million budget. So my concern is property tax would have to go up commensurate to make the difference of the consolidated tax. So let's say $4 million from the hotel corridor. So that is my concern, and the numbers do indeed need to prove that out. And then the additional item that has me greatly concerned is the timeline, Senator Hardy, from the standpoint that what you are talking about is this going, because it doesn't go up in like 2024. The timeline for our public so that they're aware, and you can correct me on this if I have it wrong, is Tuesday, June 14th of 2022. At that point, Senate Bill 79 would go before or be a ballot item, which would also include the election of the mayor and 4 city council members, and that we would be incorporating. And that happens in 15 months from today. And in 12 months, if the constituency would agree to incorporate, then in 12 months, an entire city must be stood up with municipal codes, building codes, city departments, contracts for infrastructure, and buildings and departments from Clark County would need to be completed in 12 months. Am I correct?
This is Joe Hardy for the record. You are reading that as I read it, and the recognition of the making it a city is not done in a vacuum. Obviously, there are people who have done this before. There are people who already have ordinances. They're not something that somebody has to create de novo.
Senator Hardy, who are these people that have already done this? Because I'm not aware of any department in Clark County that has been working on this project.
Well, I'm not suggesting that in Clark County that this has happened, but you do not have to stop at the borders of Clark County to look at things. I would recommend that we look at cities of similar size, for instance. And one of the challenges with public safety, for instance, is who uses the most public safety, and it would probably be the casino corridor. So you may be comparing apples and oranges as to the need and for the longevity that people are being paid for in Clark County coming down to Laughlin to do. So expenses are going to be different. Need is going to be different. Opportunities are going to be different. But again, it is one of those that we have time to work that out and to answer questions. And if the questions are not resolved in the minds of the people, then the people will vote no, and that's okay. This is one of those where the people of Laughlin will have an opportunity to vote only if it goes through the Senate, the Assembly, and the governor. And then when we look at the concept of how much money is being used and what it's doing, the seat tax is shared in different ways with different municipalities and with counties. And so that is another hurdle that would have to make everybody feel better about. So this isn't just the citizens of Laughlin that would have to come on board with this, but it would have to be all the other people whose seat tax may decrease because the city of Laughlin, when it becomes a city, would be eligible for seat tax dollars. So this is no little undertaking by any means, and I don't want to try to belittle the difficulties that would happen, but those are difficulties if the people of the city want to be a city, then this is a means to do that. If they don't want to be a city, then we will continue doing exactly what we do under the auspices of Clark County with the seat of government that is not as close to the people as I would if I were in your shoes.
Okay. All right. Are there other questions from the board? I'll recognize Pamela Walker, Senator Hardy.
Senator Hardy, this is Pamela Walker here, one of the board members. My question is, Why is it when you go for incorporation, we find out after there's already a Senate bill? Why aren't the members of this community talked to before these proposals? Why is it all of a sudden we find out, oh, Laughlin's going for incorporation again? There should be something that the citizens of this community discuss before there's a proposal. So how did this happen? Who drove Senate Bill 79?
I'm not going
The citizens have
to
a right to know. Who drove Senate Bill 79?
So I am the proponent of Senate Bill 79.
And why did
So
you propose this without discussing that with the citizens of our community?
I will be very transparent about this. 2009, 2011, 2012, 2015, and 2021. I have not changed my stance at all. And this is me. I believe in local government, and that's where I'm coming from. Now, there are people who disagree with me. I recognize that, but this is, I haven't tried to hide this. I did one of my early bills, and it's out there. So, what can I say?
I guess, sir, I don't understand why you keep on this track. Obviously, the citizens overwhelmingly voted the 5 of us on to this town board because we were against incorporation. You don't live in Laughlin. We live here. We are affected by these bills. So I don't understand why you wouldn't come and talk to the citizens and see how they feel about incorporation.
That's exactly why I'm here today, and I am the one that asked to come to the town board meeting today so that I could be in front of you. Now, I recognize due to all sorts of other concerns that I can't, quote, be there with you, but I am with you, and I understand, where you're coming from, and I appreciate that. So I'm just being consistent is what I'm doing.
Senator Hardy, you are being consistent. I have sat on this board for almost 17 years. And in that interim, I've dealt with many of these incorporations. Your words say that you respect local government, but by you going around this town board for at least 3 last proposals of incorporation tells me, sir, your actions do not support your words. You do not believe in local government. You're not recognizing this town board as it stands here today, as it stood back in 2012, and as it stood back in 2009. Mr. Hermwalker has a question.
Herm Walker, your first comment, Senator Hardy, was with regard to the map. And
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Herb.
Herm, talk right to your microphone.
I don't know where it is.
We have a very poor audio system, so we're patching it together.
Can you hear this?
I can hear you, Herm.
Can you hear this?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Your first comment was directed to the absence of the map, and when I spoke at the last town board meeting, I faulted this legislation for lack of transparency, and apparently furnishing this map was intended to obliterate that objection.
I cannot hear you sufficiently.
What he said is the map.
Oh. Well, I was provided a map of Senate Bill number 79
Okay.
all over the place today, and I assume that it came
From the senator's office.
from the senator, from your office.
Yeah.
At any rate, if the intention of this map was to take care of transparency I want to point out to you, it does not. It does not. It doesn't show lots and blocks, streets and alleys, or infrastructure within this proposed community. And unless and until it does do that, there's going to be no transparency with regard to the area which is proposed for incorporation. One of my favorite statesmen was and is Winston Churchill, and one of his most notable quotations was, "Let the people decide." And apparently that observation doesn't have much quarter, either with you or with the proponents of incorporation for Laughlin, because, as Kathy just pointed out, the Laughlin Town Advisory Board was never at any time contacted with regard to the legislation proposed to incorporate us, in other words, Senate Bill 79. And that is a serious oversight. Finally, my next observation is I want to point out to you that this legislation is seriously flawed. What are the flaws? First of all, on the first page, on the introductory page, it states clearly that local government was not contacted. That is a flaw. I think if that was presented properly to the Supreme Court of this state, they would say that's a reversible flaw. Secondly, on the first page again, it states that there is no expense to the state. That's incorrect. Who printed this bill? How much time was involved with the Attorney General's office in generating the bill? You're just the sponsor, but someone generated it. So, I don't know who the someone was. You do, but apparently are not willing to tell us who it was. But in any event, I would assume that if typical protocol was followed, it was developed in the Attorney General's office by a Deputy Attorney General at the expense of the state, who paid his salary. It was printed. Again, I would say it was printed at the expense of the state, notwithstanding numerous expenditures made by the state of Nevada. There is a statement on page 1 of that legislation that says that this legislation is without any expense to the state. And I could go through the 35 pages of this bill and point out to you numerous inconsistencies. The bill should not be reported out of government affairs in the assembly where it presently rests. It's not a bill that can be sustained. And I would think that you would be sensitive with regard to that, and sensitive about proposing a bill which has as many flaws in it as this bill has. And therefore, I would respectfully request of you that you approach the Government Affairs Committee and ask them to not report the bill out of committee and let it ride. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board of the senator?
I would like to make a statement.
Mr. Doughton,
Senator, this is Fred Doughton. I'm a member of Laughlin community. One of the concerns that I have is that we, as a group, work to be members of this board. One of the planks that we worked on and what we put out to the people was that we did not believe in incorporation. We were overwhelmingly elected by this group of folks here, which to me indicates that they agree with us. Yet after we were elected, you put this bill together. I don't think it's correct. That's my comments.
And at this time, if there's no more questions from the board, I'll go ahead and open to any public comment. Or one more, Mr. Walker.
I just have one question for the senator. Can you hear this now? No?
Get right in that microphone. Mr. Herm Walker has a question of you, Senator.
Senator, you came to Bullhead some time back and gave a public speech, at which time you referred to the electoral process when this bill was substantially defeated by a popular vote within the community. 65% of the voters voted against it. And your explanation of that was that the reason the bill was defeated is that the people simply didn't decide, or didn't understand, excuse me, that the people didn't understand. Can you tell me what it was they didn't understand?
Senator Hardy, did you hear him? He's asking if you didn't hear that because of his microphone problems. Mr. Walker was asking. I think we lost the senator.
Probably on purpose.
Well, if he can hear this, he can call back in. The phone line is ready. Yep. Senator Hardy?
I lost you.
That's okay. That's okay. Did you hear Herm Walker's question, Mr. Walker's question? Or did you lose us before that?
I lost you, and I did appreciate the reality that people on the board were elected. I probably got that far. I don't know if there was something after that.
Yes, I'll try and re-encapsulate. Mr. Walker has microphone problems. He said when you were in Bullhead City to hold a meeting pertaining to the last incorporation we had, you said that it had failed. I think it was 56 or 65% because the constituency didn't understand the facts and the fiscal impacts, I believe, or the facts of the incorporation. So what we're asking for is clarification of what it was at that time, the last incorporation, that you felt the public did not understand.
Oh, I think I have been totally misrepresented, totally and completely misrepresented. I have never said, never intended to be understood to have accused my constituents of not having understood. I think that is totally a misrepresentation. So just because a person votes no doesn't mean that he misunderstood.
I see.
The feeling of the people is the feeling of the people. It's not a matter of being misunderstood or misunderstanding. I take some umbrage about that. I think Laughlin is a different community than it was 10 years ago. I think, and to your points, that you are a town board who have individually taken a stand. I don't think the people have misunderstood when they vote. I just don't believe that. So I think if they want to have an opportunity to be a city, this is an opportunity. And if they don't, they can vote. And I will not call it a misunderstanding, no matter how they vote. I think that's an insult to the people. And I will not go there.
I understand. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would like to ask a question about incorporation with the senator while he's still with us? If you'd like to, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, spell your last name for the record, and you're welcome to make your comments and ask a question of the senator. Is there anyone in the public? No? No questions? Okay. Senator Hardy, I want to thank you for your time today. I know these situations are not always kind and not always easy, and I appreciate the chutzpah to be able to speak to this board pertaining to these matters. For our public, there indeed will be a feasibility study, numbers and financials going forward. I think it's very clear you understood the role and the position that your current town advisory board that stands before you today has on incorporation. But again, it's always going to be up to the public, and this information, will be disseminated, and there will be meetings, I'm sure, if it comes out of committee and goes forward. And Senator Hardy, I want to thank you again for your time. Did you have anything else you'd like to say?
I just appreciate the opportunity to let me be there with you as much as I can be, and don't let this color the relationship that I have with you individually or collectively, because I still have every intention to represent your needs. So if you have concerns or worries, woes about anything, you have my number and you can call and be happy to chat. So thank you for allowing me to break into your agenda and take so much of your time. Thank you. Appreciate it, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Hardy, and good day. All right, so this was listed as an action item. Now I got to find it again because we buried it. Here we are. And it was originally to discuss the imposed incorporation, Senate Bill 79, and take any action deemed appropriate. And this is an action item here today. So is there any discussion amongst the board, or would we like to call for a motion?
I think we should make a motion that the board stands against incorporation, that we should provide all information to our citizens regarding the incorporation, all the information, who to contact, our legislators, our senators, anyone deemed necessary, put all the information out to our community, because I feel like we were backdoored. I made that very clear to him, that we were backdoored on this issue. He's never made an effort to come here and talk to the citizens of this community.
I think just a little bit of discussion, I think, before we get to a motion. So one thing I'd like to propose, and that we just maybe think of it, because there's two sides to every story. It is possible that in the past, this town advisory board, if you remember, Herm, I think this was before you came on the board, but during this last term, we had two individuals. We had Jim Maniaci and Gina Mackey that went to Las Vegas and met with Clark County staff. And then at that point, they also met with Senator Hardy's as far as what was going to be the fiscal boundaries and the financials. I did request of Gina at that time that it not be two individuals that were pro-incorporation, that I be included in that committee. That did not happen. And I would propose to this board, and possibly for Senator, and I'm not looking to give Senator Hardy an excuse, but it is indeed feasible that this Senate bill and everything leading up to it was discussed with the two prior members of the Town Advisory Board, who they did expect to be reelected. This board ran as a group, and we were elected as a group. All 5 first positions came to this board. So those two individuals were no longer on the board. I don't think either one of them foresaw that happening, that all 5 of us would be elected together. And so it is a possibility that they were having the conversations, and they did not brief me on that. They didn't include me in any conversations, neither did the town manager at the time. But it is indeed very possible that those individuals and the town manager at the time had these conversations, and it went forward, and they were the ones that were talking to Senator Hardy. And they didn't inform the rest of this board, which at that time, initially it was just those two and me. then Herm was added later. And then, so that is a possibility. And I don't know if Senator Hardy wants to discuss that or not discuss that. That may have well have been the people that were discussing it with him, and that gave him the drive or the impetus to go ahead and submit this Senate bill. That is a very big possibility, because I just don't think anyone expected all 5 of us to end up on this board, and not one, or not Jim or Gina as to be on it as well. So I think that's could be where it fell down. So I just wanted to put that out there. And you know, I think that I did have one conversation with a member of the LEDC after being elected, and at that point I was told that there wasn't anything on the agenda necessarily going forward with incorporation, but I believe that that was a falsehood that was told to me, and just to keep it off the radar. So, I mean, that's what, you know, I have, just want to put that out there. And like I said, if we go forward and do a incorporation, a notice against incorporation, or a motion for disapproval of incorporation, or SB 79, and if it does make it out of committee, that will help facilitate public forums and information gathering as well.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think even if it has to be on a Zoom call, that we should have a town hall where the citizens of Laughlin can put forth their views on incorporation, and that a committee should be formed where it would be maybe 1 or 2 members of the town board, and then have some committee members from the citizens of Laughlin, and sort of form a task force, and then contact our legislators, go up to Vegas, represent the town, let them know what we think about incorporation, whether that be for or against. But I'm pretty sure, based on how the citizens voted for this town board, that the majority are against incorporation.
Yes, and I do know there are some groups within the community that are willing to hold those information forums, and having individuals involved. And I'll let, later on in our meeting, I'll let that, you know, come to fruition.
Okay.
Because, you know, in years gone by, we had it at the high school where we had put out public meeting notices, you know, that went into everybody's mailbox.
Right.
They came, we had Clark County, we had Marilyn Kirkpatrick there. From the state legislature, or at the time I think she was county, she's state legislature now, but so we did have the people from the county departments and the state there to represent us and provide information on a couple of meetings. One of them was at the high school, and there were quite a few people there. We filled it up. Yeah, that was 2005. Any other discussion amongst the board? Okay, I'll go ahead and call for a motion that we disapprove, that this board stands in disapproval of current Senate Bill 79 as it is written, and that should it come out of committee, we will help facilitate public forums in any form possible. So
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second by Pam. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, so now we took items out of agenda order for the time being so that we could accommodate our senator. And I will move forward now with our informational items, as our people have been very patient there. So we were going to receive a report from Las Vegas Metro Police regarding activity and statistics during the past month and area crime concerns. This is for discussion.
Hi, Sergeant Gino Briscoe, standing in for Lieutenant Hughes. As far as calls for service down here in Laughlin, we've had February 2021, 317, as opposed to February 2020's 329, so it's just a small reduction of 3.65%. January, we had 337 calls. Searchlight calls for service this year in February was 17. And last year, it was only 15 in 2020 in February. So it's like an increase, but it's only a few more calls more than last year, so it's nothing significant, no trends or anything like that. In January, we had 23 calls on Searchlight. Traffic citations, we issued 281 in Laughlin, 52 in Searchlight. We had 3 DUIs in Laughlin and 1 in Searchlight. Adult arrests for domestic violence, we conducted 5. And then Searchlight, 1 adult, same thing as the 5 in Laughlin. Bookings, we had 41 in Searchlight. They brought down 3 who got arrested in Searchlight. And pretty much that's it. Calls for service kind of on the hotel side has gone up a little bit. We've seen an increase of people coming to town, so it generates more activity, more complaints and things like that. And that's all I have.
I would say, actually, last year, February of 2020, we weren't in any type of pandemic mode or anything like that. So the fact that you had 317 calls when occupancy on the river is at 25%, actually, that's a big increase, technically. If you think about, per capita individuals that are here on the water being limited now this February to 25%, the fact that you had 317, which apples and apples looks like a decrease of 3.65, it's actually up quite a bit. You see what I'm saying? When you consider we only have 25% occupancy on the river.
Right, and in most of the hotels, they've been swelling up with motorhomes, and a lot of people are coming to town now. I've noticed over the past couple months, for whatever reason. But if you believe it's an increase, that's fine.
No, statistically, because we're at a 25% occupancy in the state of Nevada, and all the gaming facilities, and there's
So I see what
limits
you're saying.
on.
So because we only have 25%, calls for service are up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, technically.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions of? No.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for bearing with us today.
No problem.
I hope you enjoyed it. It gives you some insight. See, that's a good thing. That's what we want. That's what we want. More involvement. Okay, and receive a report from Nevada Highway Patrol. And he's not with us today. Clark County Fire Department regarding calls for service during the past month. Nope. And a report from Greg Turner with Clark County Water Reclamation District regarding the status of the wastewater system.
Greg Turner, Clark County Water Reclamation District. In February 2021, we treated and returned to the Colorado River an average of 1.52 million gallons every day. Now in 2020, it was 1.85 million gallons a day that we treated. So it reduced by 330,000 gallons every day, and we all know why.
Yep.
That is because occupancy is down. I will say during the height of the lockdown, our flows, which sometimes get close to 2 million gallons a day, had basically cut in half. We have seen that come back, and hopefully all of you have seen that there are a lot more people coming back. So anyway, we had no sewer service complaints, no odor complaints that were turned in to us. We did have 40 call before you dig tickets, which is a little higher than normal. So anyway, that's the report. You have any questions? I'm happy to try to answer.
No questions? No.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Greg. I hope you enjoyed the input and the information that you got about incorporation. It's good to have. Okay. I like it when you guys get to hear some of the things that are going on, because you leave too early sometimes. So next, we're going to receive a report from Jason Bailey with Big Bend Water District. Nope. Okay, and from Haley Mayo, University of Nevada Cooperative Extension, regarding status of programs and upcoming events. Hello.
Hi. So currently we are going through a bit of a change. Our community-based instructor, Mr. Will Douglas, is no longer with Extension.
Ooh.
All programs that were housed under him are still going on. They're now housed under me. So I'm gonna have to jet to go to 4-H here in a minute. But after school 4-H is still happening. Master Gardener programs, community garden, everything's still occurring, plus things that I've been working on. The community garden is going through an fix an irrigation. So unfortunately, nobody's been able to plant yet, but I'm hoping to have it done by April, which I know is really late for planting season here. But with that, I'm bringing along some new master gardeners, and we'll be able to help you guys help out the community if anybody's interested in container growing inside the house or hydroponics, things like that. Or if you're still interested in planting outside in the community garden, we'll always have that. And yeah, questions? And we are in the process of starting to get the job approved to rehire that position, who will be focused on 4-H and youth development, so that I am still able to serve everybody and we're not stretching anybody in any direction they shouldn't be. So, but questions?
Any questions of the board? No? Okay.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Okay, thank you. And receive a report from Jackie Mazzeo, Laughlin Tourism, or Laughlin Chamber of Commerce, regarding current and upcoming activities in Laughlin, and then she typically will move directly to her second hat, which is Laughlin Tourism Commission, regarding current and upcoming events and activities. So this is a twofer.
Now you can add a third hat. I'm the visitor center now too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's crazy, but it's okay. And I did want to make a correction. The resort corridor is at 35% common floor occupancy, and the hotel is at 100%. So you can still have your hotel rooms, you just can't have them on the floor. Just so that everybody understands. The Laughlin Chambers, of course, Jackie Mazzeo. By the end of this month, it will be Wallin, W-A-L-L-I-N. My name's being changed back, so I'll let you know when that happens. We've still been very busy working with the constituents of not only Laughlin, but the tri-state communities on obtaining grants to help their businesses and keep them through the portions of COVID-19 pandemic that have affected their businesses. So we're staying really busy on that. I think that's why we're acquiring more members than we've ever had, because they really value the services we're providing. I will talk later about the Water Flow Committee at the end and do a statement by its chair, Bria Chiodini. The Connie Davis 5K Walk and Roll had to be canceled because it's a large gathering group in a county property. But what we did was we opened up the donation period for the whole month so that people could come in and give their $25 donation and be grateful for all the wonderful breakfasts and lunches and dinners and all the things that they've gotten to do over the last 7 years for that event. With every $25 donation, they get a free raffle prize, and it's for amazing things that are going to be raffled off. Of course, we'll be doing that live, not in front of people. We will be having a drive-through event to take donations, so people can just drive through on their way to and from work. And if you don't know, this walk and roll event up in Pyramid Canyon benefits the River Fund Inc.'s Cancer Connection general ledger that provides that all cancer warriors can have their expenses covered that are not covered by their insurance benefits. So they don't have to go without anything in our community. Ribbon cuttings, we're still doing those, only 6 people. The Volunteers in Partnership general meeting is tonight if anybody wants to attend and get to know what our volunteers do for our events and all of our businesses on both sides of the river to help them progress, especially in light of a reduced staff. Some of our volunteers have been helping people with special events and making sure that they get through those, and it's been quite nice. Membership is up, as I said, it's 292% of our members that are in Laughlin is 29%, and new members just this last quarter have been 6, 2 of which are Laughlin members. This last week, we started a business relationship, actually kind of very relaxed business relationship with some other agencies that I have to work with and I have been working with over the last 4 years that I have found quite laborious in understanding permit applications and access to public lands and those kind of things. And I wanted it to be streamlined so I don't feel stupid, inadequate, have a lack of confidence, and it doesn't take us so long to put on an event because we have to do so much paperwork. So we had our first meeting this last week, and this new partnership is going to include representatives from BLM, BOR, Clark County Parks and Rec, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, Clark County Fire, Clark County Government Center, our Tammy's been helping us, Nevada Division of Wildlife, U.S. Coast Guard, Nevada Commission on Tourism, Laughlin Chamber Tourism, Las Vegas Events, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. If all of those agencies can get together and put a major checklist together for any promoter, any sponsor, anybody that wants to do something in our tri-state, especially as I represent Laughlin, it's going to make that process a lot less stressful. So we'll keep you updated and be able to get those packets out to everybody. So we're not the only one that gets to benefit from this partnership. COVID-19 partnerships that we've been doing, we just finished the Moderna 2 vaccines with FEMA, National Guard, Southern Nevada Health District, Clark County Fire over at the East Center, and it went very, very smooth and very, very well. And now we're planning Moderna first shots at our local medical center, Donna Kelly. She's going to be doing them on Friday. We do have a few positions open, and we're taking the reservations for those appointments for her. So anybody that's in need can call us and see if we can fill those last few. The proposed incorporation of SB 79, as a chamber, we are just a education wheel. We are just the arm of citizens and businesses in our area. So I want to assure anybody that needs copies of any document, they can pick them up after Monday at our offices, and that would include an overview of the proposed incorporation that was submitted in March 13th of 2020, the NRS that talks about annexation by cities and certain counties, the NV Legislation Council Bureau Office for the background paper of 1977, Senate Bill 79, sample letters in support or opposition. If you need to handwrite one, I can help you do the right terminology and help you get that written and sent. And addresses, emails, and instructions for submission of opinions. If you don't know, because legislation is closed to the public, you can still get on legislation. There's a connection through Nellis, and you can actually speak when the bill is heard, or you can submit a letter or a request to be heard via email. So there's still ways that you can be heard, whether you're a proponent or someone who's in opposition. I did ask Clark County for the GIS map, and it looks like it's arrived. So we worked really hard on that last week, getting Clark County GIS department to help me build one, and it looks like we've already received it. So I'm excited. And that's it for chamber.
So just so I'm clear, you're going to, that GIS map is much more detailed as far as landmarks and businesses and stuff. If I remember, with the Gizmo system, it's APNs and stuff like that.
Yes, what we have now is just an overview, an outline, and what I
Right.
asked Clark County Gizmo department to do is build a detailed map so that citizens could see where their houses sit and where their businesses sit, and they can actually see how it's going to affect them, or if they're included or excluded.
And in addition, the chamber is going to be a neutral party that's going to be hosting information and possibly public forums for input.
Yeah, we will not comment one way or the other.
Correct.
In opposition or as a proponent, but we will provide our citizens, just like we did during the election, of everything that was Republican and Democrat. You can come into our office and get anything that floats your boat. If you want to float this Senate bill, you can. If you don't, I just want you to have the information that you need, because we can't gather and have educational processes like we did last time. So
For the time being,
yes,
right,
but I can
right.
give you the information you need to read and even highlight some areas that you need for facts.
And this proposed legislation, should it make it out of committee, will go on the ballot June 14th of 2022. So hopefully we'll be able to gather by then. I remember one of the best things that happened was when the chamber, I think it was 2004, 2005 for the 2006 general election at the high school, and we had I don't know, probably close to 1,000 people attend, information for that. And so
we're
that
your
was
information source if you
yeah,
need it.
that was hosted by Donna Trieg and myself. I sat on the chamber at the time, and that was a great service to the community.
We're following the mission that's been set.
Thank you.
So I'll go on with Laughlin Tourism Commission. Best in the Desert is a go for the end of this month. Of course, it's a no spectator event. All social distancing and mask wearing will be enforced, and the results will, if you don't adhere to those regulations and guidelines, the actual races, teams, and the drivers will be penalized. So it's a serious offense if you don't follow. Our volunteers in partnership will be there to enforce, and I will be there to evaluate to make sure that our sponsors and the event coordinators are doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're going to experience a motorcycle rally, I think, but it will not be the Laughlin River Run. There is no promoter. There are no vendors. There are no concessions. There's a small tattoo convention that will be at the Aquarius. But other than that, all the calls that we're getting are because people just want to come and see their friends and ride. And one of the best social distancing events for me, and I know Fred, that we ride our motorcycles and we can get out and do things that we want to do in the open air. And I'm encouraging people to come ride with me that weekend. So if you have any friends that want to come ride, we're going to have little runs everywhere and some little poker runs places. So it will be kind of fun. I don't need to go over the rest of this, except that you need to know that Rockets Over the River is scheduled for July 4th, and it will only be one time this year. The rest is in your report. For Tough Mudder, Run Laughlin, Snore, and concerts have all been delayed for third quarter, fourth quarter, and first quarter of 2022. You have any questions?
Jackie, could you expound on where you stand on fishing license and marriage license?
Sure, the notary, Claudia passed the notary test, so we're just waiting for her to be certified in front of and be sworn so that she can provide notary services. We contacted the Nevada Division of Wildlife to see when our equipment's going to be here, and then we'll be an official application site, and we can give people fishing licenses so they don't have to look all over the tri-state to get something so that they can be legal. And we're so close to the fishing sites over at the Heritage Greenway Park Trail and those fishing docks that they should be able to get those from us. And I'm even tempted to put in a freezer and carry anchovies. So I'm an angler, so I know what they need, and they can be a one-stop shop for them. But so
just hope your freezer never dies in summer. Yeah.
So we'll do what we can to accommodate the anglers, and I feel their pain right now. Those who cannot do this, they can't apply for a fishing license if they don't have a smartphone. So they're wandering, and it's kind of sad. So now I'd like to read a statement regarding our committee from Bria Chiodini. So the government hasn't signed the bill regarding the new, what's it called?
Upper River Commission?
Yeah.
Upper Colorado River
It'll come down here in
Commission.
a sec. Colorado River Authority of Utah. So the governor has not signed that yet. But there is still a chance of modifications, and you'll understand why in just a minute, why I'm bringing this to your attention. That the opposing sides are requesting and can still be made. At this point, we can only wait and see. The bill is only concerned because the lack of transparency it provides with allowing closed-door discussions about the Lake Powell pipeline. I've spoke about the Lake Powell pipeline before, where it diverts water from Lake Powell into Utah, where they have the worst water conservancy practices in the nation. For us, I think they use 1.75% more water per capita than we do because they don't have conservation in place. So people believe that the proposed bill is an avenue to push the pipeline. So let me expound on that. The pipeline did not move any farther because there was so much opposition. So they put it to the side. And we believe this, what I'm about to talk about, is their way to get it through without anybody being heard. It is the Lake Powell pipeline that we need to be on alert for. The Laughlin River Flow Committee, which is a committee of our chamber, is against this project as it will significantly affect our river. I feel strongly about this issue. However, I'm unable to be there for public comment today. Jackie will be providing a quick summary on why this bill is relevant to the Lake Powell pipeline, and I appreciate your help in listening. Utah SB 297. This is a 53-page bill that creates a Colorado River Authority of Utah and aims to bring the state's best minds together for the purpose of finding the best ways to use and protect Utah's portion of the Colorado River. Utah's portion. The state's Colorado River Authority, Utah's state's Colorado River Authority, will be led by a 6-member board representing various parts of the state. It will also take $9 million to set up this authority, $600,000 to run it annually, according to legislation fiscal notes. This bill will allow the new agency to hold closed-door meetings, which is a concern shared by the bill opponents for this bill and the Lake Powell pipeline. This bill is a vehicle to advance the Lake Powell pipeline. This is driven by Utah's claim that they are not getting their fair share of the river. Utah is stating that their allocation of 1.7 million acre feet. This is based on annual river flow from 1922. In the recent study from Utah State University on the state of the Colorado River and what we should be doing to prepare for the effects of climate change or not, urges that the upper basin cannot divert any more water and specifically calls out the Lake Powell pipeline as unwise. Within the report is a table that models many different past and possible future flow scenarios. It shows that the average flow of the river from 1906 to 2018 was about 14.7 million acre feet, but dropped to about 12.4 during 2020. From the 2000 to 2018 period. Utah's claim to water is based on bad math. And that was the last thing she wrote. So if you need any information about this information coming from the Chamber's River Flow Committee, you can find that at the Chamber also.
Jackie, do you think it would be wise of this board to agendize and have a letter of whatever we decide, but would that be helpful at this point, or is it just waiting to be signed?
So it appears that if the governor is going to sign it, it's going to happen right away.
Yeah.
So we don't have a time frame to send a letter of opposition, but what we can do is send a letter that we oppose the effects it's going to have and what the Lake Powell pipeline will do for the lower basin.
I see. A letter from this board would have to be agendized, and that would have to go. And it's not on our agenda today, so it would have to be agendized. And so now we're talking a month away.
Yeah, but it still doesn't hurt because it'll be some time.
Right,
It'll still be
see.
relevant at the time. Even if he signs it, there
Okay.
can still be opposition, and somebody's going to have to start listening.
Right.
Because
Okay.
closed-door meetings about how it's going to affect Utah, Arizona, and Nevada needs to be heard.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Put my glasses back on. Okay, receive a report from Parks and Recreation. There we are. The status of programs and upcoming activities. We had that.
Good afternoon. My name is Shelly Galata. I'm from Clark County Parks and Recreation. And currently, unfortunately, the Spirit Mountain Activity Center, which primarily does senior programming, is still closed due to state guidelines. So we're hoping soon. In the meantime, we are starting to get some programming at least organized and planned for if the events when we can open. Boys and Girls Club is still running their day camp program out of the Spirit Mountain Activity Center. They're still offering what we would call inside the county school days program. They're open Monday through Friday, still in operation, and they still have spots available. That's through Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
And we have park reservations for 100 or less, so we are accepting those reservations. And The actual Spirit Mountain Activity Center where Alon and I are housed at, we are open. So if you want to come in and get information about park reservations, we are open for that. And that's it. I'm sorry, I wish I had more to report, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, these times are unusual,
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
bizarre.
So,
Okay.
did anybody have any questions or anything? Or?
Any questions of the board? No?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Okay. And receive a report from Laughlin School System? No. And receive a report from Tanya Brown-Worth of Laughlin Library? No. And the next, there is several items. Announcements of upcoming neighborhood meetings and county or community meetings and events. One of the first thing that I'll draw the attention to the public, at the back table should be a link for any type of opinion you have regarding the Senate bill that we listened to today. So there's a piece of paper back there. I believe, Tammy, it's back there, isn't it? I thought it was. Losing my mind. With the link that you can copy directly, and you can make your own statement to the legislature regarding the Senate bill. Okay, there's that. And then also, there should be at the back of the room COVID-19 vaccine locations. This is the week of March 8th through 14th. So if there's any questions that you have, or if you want to put this in the paper. Okay, yeah. Yeah, some of them are. No, we are working on, we're working on that. Yeah, okay, and this was in case, and like if anybody had missed any shots. Jackie? John and Kelly?
Donna Kelly.
Oh, okay. This Friday, dose 1, Moderna, Donna Kelly. Okay, and call the Laughlin Chamber. It's for 15 positions, but hey, every little bit helps. So we have that, and I was going to give the announcement on the Utah bill, but it seems like we already have that.
Madam Chair.
Please.
Also for the veterans, I do not have the contact information, but if you are a veteran and you are in the VA system, and they just moved it to 65 and above, they will be doing the weekend of the 10th and the 17th of April, so they will be giving shots both those days. The first shot, it'll be the Moderna, and then they will come back within the appropriate time and give the second shot. So as soon as I get all the information, where you sign up, or I will make sure that I contact you, Kane, to get the information out to all the Laughlin residents who are veterans and can get the shot.
Okay. Okay. Any other announcements from the board? Nope. And if there's any of our VIPs out here, I just wanted to thank you again for the help at the vaccination clinic. That one went even smoother, and I spoke with Chris, the head of the vaccine side, and he really, really liked that. And especially as the weather starts getting hot, inside the e-center, he can move people in, so they're not standing out there in that heat. So that may be the preferred venue for the future. So we might want to mention that to Mr. Hammond, that that was a preferred location for them in the future. Just they can get more people in and out of the heat, because that's going to be a concern starting really quickly. Okay, so let's see. No other community announcements that we have. And planning and zoning, we have none before us today. General business, we had the discussion with the senator, and we took action as far as a motion to vote for disapproval of Senate Bill 79. And then item number 2 is to discuss and provide a list for public works regarding the conditions of the roadways and other community concerns. And this is an action item here today as well. We do have public to be aware, we do have Public Works coming down next week, and we want to get some input and feedback on street locations so that we can compile a comprehensive list and start getting some of the road work done. And one of the things that was submitted to Tammy Harris from a constituent here, from Virginia K. Hendricks Smith, she doesn't give an address or she doesn't give her address, but she says she would like to submit Villa Bonita 2 subdivision behind the post office for updated road repair and new asphalt. This neighborhood is 34 years old and roads need an update. So that's Villa Bonita 2, and I think most of us would say Villa Bonita 1 as well, which is up behind what is now the Laughlin Market, or it used to be Ltab's Market, and the Vistas Apartments. So that's Villa Bonita 1 and Villa Bonita 2. And then if there's any input from the public, any streets that they would like added to this list, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and give us the location. And we'll be submitting these to Public Works next month.
Hello, my name is Kelly Stanford, Stanford, 2379 Dillon's Cove Drive in Laughlin. Been a resident there just about 4 years. Bilbray Parkway needs repaving, specifically just about across from the entrance to the church. There's a large section where if your wheel catches,
Bilbray and Banyan.
Your wheel,
yeah, Bilbray and Banyan.
And then
it was on my list too.
down on Highway 95 at the intersection, the stop lamp there, there's some pretty good divots now.
I'm sorry, 95?
Highway 95.
That's on the Arizona side?
No, on the, is it?
You mean Highway 63?
In front of where the market is, in the library.
Oh, Needles Highway.
Needles
Highway. Oh, okay.
Right where the stop lamp in Bilbray Parkway, there's divots in the road, and there again, it will turn your vehicle if you catch them. Needless to say, you bottom out.
Get some air.
Yeah.
Not good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more public input? I know the board has, you know, I've been driving around a little bit, so please go ahead.
Chris Duker, 2572 Morrow Ridge. El Mirage at Needles Highway has some big potholes in it right now. I mean, I think that's where all the water accumulates, and it's got some real bad ones that you almost have to swerve out of the lane to avoid them on the oncoming traffic. So that's a real bad spot that's going to get worse.
Yes, definitely. I've been kind of just making some notes. Are you writing? Okay, thank you. I was like, uh-oh, I'm listening but not writing. Okay, so from the board, do we have some streets to add?
I'm still driving.
Okay, so I had Villa Bonita 1 and 2, which there was one there. I had El Mirage, Banyan, Cottonwood Cove, El Mirage, Banyan, Cottonwood Cove, James Bilbray, South Point. I had, Cottonwood, Mesquite.
Yes, Mesquite, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Mesquite.
Madam Chair, could we also add on to there the Canyon Terrace development?
Okay, Canyon Terrace Development Residential, yeah, and that's kind of, I was headed over to Ocotillo, which is up in there. Yeah, I was headed there. Highway 95, Las Palmas, outside the library, is pretty bad. That's the school buses all the time. So that's what I had. Fred and Herm, do you have any more streets?
So one of the basic things is if you look at road repair, if you do not touch a road and just drive on it, it's good for about 20 years. But if you do crack sealing and slurry seal in every 5 to 6 years, that road will last to 35. They haven't touched a road in Laughlin in the last 8 or 9 years. The last thing that they did was when I say that, Thomas Edison had some major work on it, but the other streets are not being touched at all, and I think they need to tell us why not. And along that same lines, if you come in on Needles Highway, about a mile north of the high school road, there's a do not pass sign that was leaning at about 45 degrees, and now it's on the ground. There are areas where they put the yellow tape down. They're coming up. When you leave here, if you drive up Bruce Woodbury, you're going to see a bunch of it.
Yep.
So they're not looking at the roads and taking care of them.
Okay. And I think some of that is capital expenditures and budgetary issues that weren't addressed in the last 4 to 5 years. And I think we're aware of that, and I think we'll be making moves to that end. One thing I was just going to say that is technically on the list, but we're not putting it on the list. So the parking lots and stuff are something that we're going forward with this year. You know, yes, that needs repaired. We're aware of it, and it's something we're pushing onto this fiscal year. And then also we have, they're looking at, you know, Casino Drive enhancement as it goes from Harrah's all the way to Needles Highway, because Casino Drive would be something you would be addressing there typically too. But I just kind of want to pull back from that till we see what's going to happen if they're going to do the infrastructure and tear all that up, because it doesn't make sense to put that on the list of roads that need improved. Yes, it does, but if they're going to come in and tear it all up, then, you know, it would just have to be redone. Any more from the board or please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record and let us know what you found.
My name is Sharon Guerrero, Guerrero. I live at 2224 High Dunes Lane in Laughlin, Nevada. And I have 2 things I would like to address, if I could, please.
Please.
For quite some time, my husband was unable to get around very well. He ended up in a wheelchair, and we took the bus. My issue is where we live in Heritage, coming out of Heritage onto Mesquite, I'm on the road with my husband. To get to the bus stop, I have to take him out of the wheelchair, get him up on the curb, and get him over to sit at the bus stop, and then I have to go back and get the wheelchair. I have to do that exact same thing when we get off the bus. My husband was not a small man, but he was also wasn't a large man. He weighed 195 pounds. Most of the time he could help me, but at the end it got to where he was not able to help me any longer. We did take Silver Rider places, which isn't always convenient because of time. My question was, and I have brought this up a number of times, I have called the board, actually spoke to the gentleman that was the predecessor, and I have spoken with Silver Rider. I kind of have been put off because I'm requesting a handicap ramp just north of where you sit. And there is concrete there, which from what I'm looking at shows me that there would be no reason why there could not be a drop in the curb to bring a wheelchair, a walker, a motorized wheelchair.
A curb cut. Then,
right.
And so you're talking an ADA ramp and a curb cut?
There's already concrete past the bus stop.
But no railing.
Which would be to the north.
Okay.
It would be like maybe if you were walking, because there's sidewalk right in front of the bus stop, obviously. There's a garbage can on this end, and on the other end, there's nothing. But there is concrete, and then the curb, and so I don't understand why they did not. So what I was told was that I needed to take him in his wheelchair down Mesquite Lane. I don't know if any of you are aware of, that is a bit of a slope, down to Bilbray, and then to walk north to the nearest bus stop. Pushing him in the wheelchair from our home on High Dunes Lane, just getting him to the bus stop was a drama for me because it's a slope up and a slope down, obviously. So I was wondering why there was never it's not handicap accessible to get
It's
to that
not
bus
ADA.
stop at all.
That's something we can ask Public Works. I was going to ask you, what was the time frame of this? Has it just been recently?
I have been working on it for about a year now.
Oh, okay, so it's just recently, because I know Silver Rider does have a bus with wheelchair access that they'll come and pick you up in.
The problem is when I would take him on Silver Rider,
right,
then you're gone hours.
Okay.
And we can't always do that. It was hard on him and it was taxing on me.
Okay.
My husband has since passed away, but I still feel like I need to represent the handicapped population.
Yep, we
because
agree.
My second issue is, yes, I am able to take Silver Rider because of my disability, but again, time sometimes is quite taxing. If I go to Walmart, it's 5 hours. I have taken the bus from my home to the Riverside Casino. It's very difficult for me to get into the casino, get down the escalator, to get out, to take the boat across and catch a bullhead bus to go to Safeway or Walmart, but we're talking 5 hours. It took me 5 hours to pick up a prescription at Walmart. I was in Walmart for 10 minutes. And pretty much Silver Rider can be shorter, but not a lot. When I was his full-time caregiver, it was difficult for me to be gone that long. I couldn't. So that was a restriction for me. My second issue is, and still is an issue, is that for me to try and get around in Laughlin Township is, again, if I need to get to the mall, because I just want to go to the mall and I don't need to I have to sign up to get on Silver Rider. This is all things that have to be done ahead of time. So you can't just in a whim decide you want to do something. I have to take the bus. I take the bus all the way to the food bank because that's where I have to get off to walk back to the mall because I have no access to cross Casino Drive because I can't see the lights. I'm legally blind.
I see.
So when
our
I go
crosswalk there at Casino Drive and what is that?
Bruce Woodbury.
Bruce Woodbury doesn't have the sound.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I know it doesn't. I've checked the one down by the.
Yeah, for visually impaired, they usually have a sound that says walk, don't walk, or a beeping type.
Yeah, but I can't see that sign.
And so these are things for us to bring up to Public Works when they come next week.
I've tried to coordinate the lights with the vehicles, and I've got it figured out. When I go to church at Laughlin Community Church, and I take the 888, the 888 drops me right off at the bus. I attempted to take my husband across at the church, which is a corner, which I'm legally allowed to do, and I almost got run over, pushing him in the wheelchair to go across. So we ended up having to go all the way down to the light, which of course with him with me, he could see the light for me to tell me when I could cross. And then he showed me to figure out about that particular street, the traffic, where I can go across by myself. And I do from time to time. I have a wonderful angel here that takes me places, and my neighbor also, but not
So
always.
Mrs. Guerrero, if I could just recap, so what we are talking about is adding an ADA ramp and a curb cut at the top of High Dunes at the bus stop. correct? Is the item number one?
On Mesquite Way, yes.
Correct. Okay, High Dunes Mesquite Way. And then the other item is something more hooked up or succinct between Silver Rider and the BAT program over in Bullhead City. So it's a quicker trip for our people that are using the buses to get from Laughlin over to shopping and retail and then back is the second item.
Yeah, well, you know, that's all, I've ridden Silver Rider a lot. And, you know, their time is what they can do.
And sometimes it could be maybe, you know, speaking with Bullhead too, as far as what their routes are. And then the other item number 3 you had was audible for visually impaired guests at our crosswalks. I think just something overall at our crosswalks, because you're not the only guest. I'm not in the hotel business anymore. Okay. Right. You're not the only constituent that has visually impairment, and many of us, you know, have family members that do. So those are the 3 items, and I'm not sure about the Silver Rider issue, but we can definitely, you know, see about doing something, because it would serve the entire community.
Right. Their timing is, I mean, they are top notch. I have no complaint with them in a general basis at all, and not Bullhead either. It takes the time that it takes. Yeah. And so they're great when I meet at the hub to move on to the next bus. It's great. It's just time. That's all it is.
Yeah, and it is difficult. And
it just is what it is. But the thing that has really shocked me is that especially the river, Casino Drive, and even Needles Highway, that it is not more handicap accessible for the blind. Yep. That shocks me.
Yeah. Okay, and we'll definitely address that next week, and you're welcome to come back if you want to speak this again, because Public Works will be here next week. We're going to be presenting what you've said today, but like I said, you are welcome to come back next week, because Clark County Public Works will be here.
Thank you so very much.
I'm sorry, next month.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm like, we're coming back next week. Okay, you guys are looking at me like, no, we're not.
I know,
we're really
what
not.
are you talking about?
Thank you. Okay, so I think we have a list for Public Works. Yeah. All right, so then we'll move forward to item number 8 on our agenda, which is comments by the public, or by general public. A period is devoted to comments by the general public about matters relevant to the board's jurisdiction. No vote may be taken on a matter not listed on the posted agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please step up to the speaker's podium if applicable. State your name and address and spell your name for the record. If any member of the board wishes to extend the length of a presentation, this will be done by the chairperson or the board by majority vote. And if you would like to provide a written general public comment on an item not appearing on this agenda, so we're at the section where you can speak to items that do not appear on this agenda, we cannot discuss it with you or take any action, but you are welcome to speak to items that are not on today's agenda. So you can do this in writing within the jurisdiction. Submit your comments to tammy.harris@clarkcountynv.gov before 10:30 a.m. The day of the meeting today would be March 9th, 2021. Includes your name, address, your comment. Comments will be read to the record. No comments over 3 minutes in length will be read, and all comments received will be compiled into a document and shared as part of the meeting's minutes. Do we have anyone in the public that would like to speak on any items that are not on today's agenda? Okay. I have no one. All right. So as we stand, our next meeting date, ooh, that's late in the month, is April 13th of 2021. And I'll go ahead and call for a motion. Herm?
I move we adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn, a second. All those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.